When you've been quilting for a while, do you develop neck pain or back pain? Does your elbow start to hurt or your wrists or fingers? If you do, then keep watching. I'm going to be sharing 6 strategies with you for self-care when quilting. The first strategy I want to share with you is to get a design wall. You don't have to break the bank with any of these strategies that I will be sharing with you today. There are less expensive options for every single one of them. For my design wall, this is an old design wall that I used. It wasn't very expensive because this is just flannel backed picnic table material that I bought on rolls at Walmart years and years ago. You can use a flannel backed tablecloth. We use these a lot during quilt retreats. You can sew a buttonhole and use a command hook to hang them. You could use command hook clothespins. There's all kinds of inexpensive options for creating a design wall. But it is so important, especially if you have back pain or knee pain. Getting down on the floor when you have knee and back pain is typically not a good idea. When I first started quilting, I did that. I was a lot younger then. I didn't have knee pain or back pain, but as I got older, the design wall is a must in my quilt room because it helps save my knees and helps prevent more back pain. The second one I want to mention is to invest in a good sewing chair. You don't have to, again, break the bank, but you want to get a good one. You want to get one that's adjustable. Also, if there's arms on it, I think it's a good idea if you get those where the arms will flip up out of the way. In my quilt room, I sew with a chair that has armrest. At quilt retreats, I sew with one that doesn't have armrest, but both chairs are adjustable. The chair in my quilt room, I think I purchased that at Sam's Club. It's a great chair, and it's just adjustable. The tension on the back's adjustable. The height of the back is adjustable. The height of the chair is adjustable. There's just lots of adjustments where you can adjust it to fit you. I recently saw somebody talking about the Bernina chairs. They are more expensive, but they are adjustable. That's not what I use, but you can certainly go and try one out if they have a Bernina dealer in your area. But again, you don't have to break the bank. Just get a good chair that's adjustable that you can adjust to fit you. The third tip I want to share with you is to make sure your ironing station as well as your cutting stations are adjusted to fit you. This is how I determine the height for my cutting and my ironing station. I hold my elbows at 90 and drop them slightly, and that is where I want to be able to cut as well as iron. Now my ironing station is a little bit lower because I have the height of the iron, so I don't want to be ironing and having to reach down to iron, or I don't want to have to elevate my shoulder to iron. I just want everything in a neutral position so that I can cut forward without having to, raise up my shoulder. I want it all to be comfortable, and that will vary from person to person. And again, these options don't have to break the bank. For example, for years, I ironed on a regular ironing board, and I simply adjusted it to the tallest setting that I could get. Before I have the cutting station I have now, I used a fold-out table, one of the big heavy ones, and I used PVC pipe to put under the legs on all 4 sides to raise up my table to the height that I needed. Some people have used bed risers to elevate their tables. My current cutting table is a Husky table that I purchased at Home Depot, and it has a crank handle where it's adjustable. Some of you have watched that video that I put out on that, and some of you have this table, but the nice thing about this is it is adjustable. And since I'm tall, I can crank it up to the height that I need. And just a few minutes ago, I had a friend here and we just lowered it down because we were just sitting and doing stuff right here on my table, and we were both sitting in chairs. Now, there are more expensive options that are great. There are electrical versions of tables that raise and lower, and I think those are perhaps the best if that's what you can afford, but many people cannot afford that. So just work within your budget, but there are options that don't cost much at all. The PVC pipe didn't cost much, and I used that for years. The next strategy that I hope you'll implement is to use good lighting. I've talked about the importance of using good lighting, and we just want to do all we can to maintain the eyesight we have and to help do whatever we can for injury prevention. And I am all for using good light. Here in my machine, I've put strip lighting under my machine there. Here is the light just from my machine, but look at the improvement in the light with the underneath lighting here. And then I use the daylight savings light, the daylight lights. You don't have to buy lamps or lights that are this expensive, but be sure you're using good lighting when you sew. Sometimes we sew for hours, and we need to be sure we're not causing additional eye strain when we quilt. Now, this also goes for when you are sitting and doing handwork. Be sure you have good lighting. There are lots and lots of options out there for that, so don't forget to implement that. The next strategy I want to talk about is to be sure you're using good sharp tools. Now, you may wonder, well, why is that important? It's important because using dull tools puts extra pressure on our joints, like our fingers, our wrists, our elbow, and our shoulder. So be sure that you're using tools that are sharp. Now, these tools will include your sewing pins, just your basic pins. When these get dull, these do get dull. So, and they get bent. When they get dull or bent, get rid of them. I didn't know this for a long time, but seam rippers get dull. When I bought this new seam ripper, I realized how much of a difference it makes, because I had been using the same seam ripper for years and years, and yes, they get dull. Sometimes you may have to purchase a new set if you don't have somebody to sharpen the blades, and you can have blades sharpened on your scissors. I make a lot of ragtime quilts, and I'm just getting ready. I just finished one, and I'm getting ready to make several more. So I bought another pair of snips. These are going to be sharp. And if you've made a ragtime quilt, you know it takes a lot of snips to get that snipped. And when you're doing this a lot, the less resistance, the easier it is on your hand to get those quilts cut. This is an example. This is a good example of something you need to keep sharpened. These are pinking shears. I've had these for years. I can barely open them. I certainly want to try to cut any fabric with them. I either need to get them sharpened, or I'm going to have to get a new pair, because if I try to use that, it's just going to take a few snips and my hand is really going to be hurting. And it could affect my elbow as well as my shoulder. So be sure to keep all of your scissors nice and sharp, or purchase ones that are sharper. The sixth strategy I want to share with you is to be sure to get up and move when you are quilting or sewing. I am guilty of this. I have experienced this myself. I have sat for hours and hours at my sewing machine or sewing on bindings, so much that I developed severe back pain. I don't know if you all have ever experienced the burning, but I sometimes get what I call the burning. It's that pain right between your shoulder blades. It is caused from overuse and poor posture. So be sure you are getting up and moving and not staying in the same position for hours on end. I have been at quilt retreats where I have seen quilters have to leave because the pain in their neck was so severe because they sat too long sewing in one position. At quilt retreats, I'll see quilters that have their sewing machine in front of them and then they have their ironing station right there. And that's a great setup if that works for you. But please don't forget to get up and move. Even though that's working good, if you sit there too long, your joints can get stiff and again, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain. So be sure you're getting up and moving. In the comments below, if you have some additional tips for self-care when quilting that works for you, please be sure to share that with us in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and until next time, have fun quilting.